Welcome to the channel. I'm Tom, this is my table, and on my table today are parts for my ultimate Intel budget gaming PC under £750/$. Now before we get into things, I know that this build could be made a little bit cheaper, but I think I struck a good balance between price, performance, and just general future-proofing. And so the parts I've gone for today are all brand new and were bought from eBuyer and CCL online here in the UK for £734. But if you are in the States, don't worry, I've got you covered. Here's a PC part picker list that I've put together for $748 that has the same CPU, GPU, and motherboard, and the other components have been substituted for suitable alternatives. So as you can see, I've gone for the i3-12100f. This is a 4-core 8-thread processor with the MSI Pro H610M motherboard and 16GB of 3200MHz DDR4 RAM by Patriot. The cooler is the A400i, and to make this a little bit cheaper, you could just use the stock Intel cooler that comes with the CPU. For storage, I've gone with a single 500GB nvme PCIe 3.0 M.2 SSD, and the main event is the Intel Arc a770 limited edition graphics card, all powered by the FX Pro 700W power supply by Cit. And then this is all housed by the Cit Master mid tower, which includes two 120mm ARGB fans. Now the reason I went with the 12th gen i3 instead of the 10th gen, even after being impressed by the i3-10100f in a previous video, is because the LGA 1700 socket will still be good for the 13th gen if you did want to go for that upgrade, and could still possibly work with 14th gen. Now this hasn't been confirmed yet, and to be honest I don't really find it that likely because Intel swaps sockets on the regular. But yeah, this still makes the LGA 1700 socket still a more future-proof and alive platform. Also, to be honest, the 12th gen CPU and motherboard was only like £10 or let's say $15 more expensive than going for the 10th gen alternative, so I thought it was a no-brainer really. But let me know what you would do differently. Now that I've gone over the parts, I guess all that's left is to set the mood and let these components have a little bit of alone time together, and then just wait for our PC to be born. So here we are in Cyberpunk 2077 on 1080p on the high preset with FSR 2.1 turned off, and we just absolutely smashed it into the wall there. But yeah, running really well. On the high preset it does sort of just automatically enable FSR 2.1 on quality, but I thought we'd try it off for now. And yeah, it feels pretty playable. The frame time graph is a bit squiggly, but it doesn't feel as bad as it looks. So I'm in around the afterlife area, and usually I find that this area is normally one of the hardest places to run in the game. So FPS here will probably drop to its lowest that you're gonna see. So yeah, to be honest, 45 is pretty good in this sort of area. Let's just get out the car and see what happens then. And FPS has risen now quite substantially actually out of the car. I was also curious about temperatures in this sort of cheaper case and with only one intake and one exhaust fan. But yeah, it's doing really well. As you can see, the temperature of CPU is not really going above 50, and the GPU is stuck around 67, but the highest I've seen it go is about 70. And yeah, it doesn't really go much higher than that, so pretty good really. So I do want to just try this with ray tracing on, so we'll just go and see what that's like. So now we're on the ray tracing low setting with FSR 2.1 on quality. And yeah, still doing really well, pretty much the exact same as before. I guess turning on FSR 2.0, the 2.1 on quality with ray tracing sort of makes up for the ray tracing hit that we're going to get. We're now on the ultra ray tracing preset with FSR 2.1 still enabled on quality. And yeah, I mean, for Cyberpunk, it's still a pretty decent frame rate, so I'm quite happy with it, especially with ray tracing on ultra. Yeah, it does show that this card is actually really good at ray tracing. Probably, yeah, just as good as an NVIDIA 30 series card, that is. Our last look with Cyberpunk then is going to be at 1440p with the ray tracing on ultra and FSR 2.1 on quality again. And yeah, we're just about staying at 30 FPS. Probably not ideal, but if you did want ray tracing on max, you could get away with playing it just about. But I'd probably suggest turning the ray tracing down to low and keeping settings on high. Next, we're here in The Witcher 3 after its update, which adds ray tracing and everything. And right now we're on the Ultra preset without ray tracing, and we are in the city of Novigrad. And I chose the city just because, again, it's got a lot of NPCs, there's a lot going on, so it's usually one of the harder places to run. So this will probably be the lowest sort of frame rate you're going to get in the city. So yeah, right now we're still in pretty good. It drops to about mid 50s and then goes up to about a highest of about 80 at 1080p. And yeah, runs pretty smoothly as well. So we're just going to turn on ray tracing on 1080p again. So now we're on the ray tracing ultra preset, and yeah, I think it's not really done much to the performance. It's roughly the same, I'd say. So let's come around here again, because I think here we hit like the 70s, and yeah, again we're hitting the 70s in this area. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. The ray tracing wise, it's not really taken a hit at all, which yeah, it's quite surprising in a way. So let's just bump up to 1440p and see how that goes. Right now we're at 1440p. Same on the ray tracing ultra setting, and again I'd say performance is roughly the same again, if not exactly the same, to be honest, which yeah, is really odd. Also something that's odd, I think the CPU usage actually went up when we've gone up in resolution. I'm not sure, let me know, because I wasn't really checking it too much in 1080p, but yeah, again, running really well. So let us, just out of curiosity, bump up to 4K. And now we're at 4K, ray tracing, ultra, everything on the highest. And yeah, again, CPU utilization has pretty much stayed the same, and the frame rate is pretty much exactly the same as well. So that's really odd. I'm guessing it could be like a driver issue where the 1080p performance could be better and the 1440p performance could be better. I'm not sure about the 4K, but yeah, for everything to stay pretty much exactly the same frame rate wise is really interesting, actually. Yeah, I haven't really experienced this before. So yeah, let me know if you think it's just drivers or if it's just the Witcher game in general. Here we are in Warzone 2.0 then, at 1080p with the balance preset. However, I've turned texture resolution to normal because on default it's on low. And Intel's XeSS is on as well, and that's at quality. And yeah, we're looking at the mid 60s here all around, I would guess, sometimes peaking up to the 70s. And yeah, not too bad. Again, your frame rate in Warzone is going to depend on the area that you're in. Now we're at 1440p, and yeah, again, a bit odd. The frame rate has jumped up again, which I'm struggling to understand. I've had to turn off Intel's monitoring system just because it wouldn't actually let me change the resolution with it on in Warzone, which is, again, a bit odd, so it's probably just a bit of an Intel thing. But the frame rate has jumped about 30 frames, which I don't understand. It's going from 1080p to 1440p, the frame rate has actually increased. It's still exactly the same settings on balance with normal textures and Intel XeSS on quality. Yeah. Oh dear, I'm getting shot. And we're dead. Now in the Gulag, you do get a little frame rate increase, usually about 10-20 frames. and here is no different. So we'll try win the Gulag, and then I'll try actually and go in 4K, because I'm curious to see if we'll get an even bigger performance jump. Yeah, that would be a bit crazy, but we'll see. Wish me luck, guys. Yes, okay, good. We got it, we got it. Okay, so on this roof, we're currently sitting at 80, 90, depending on where we look, I guess. So we're in the mid 90s at the moment. So here we are at 4K, and wow, we're actually getting basically the 1080p performance. That is so weird. I can't understand that. That is so weird. So actually the best resolution was 1440p. Then I would say maybe even 4K, because now inside we're getting close to 80. And then the worst resolution being 1080p. That seems so weird. I think this is just Intel things. So I died, guys. So we're just going to spectate and end off this video. So if you did like it, make sure to leave a like and maybe subscribe if you're not subscribed already. I would greatly appreciate it. But for now, if you want to watch another video, maybe watch this.